Welcome to another episode of Behind the Business presented by Gore Mutual. I'm your host, Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. This podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. Each week I sit down for candid conversations where we go beyond the boardroom and behind the business to uncover the real stories of Waterloo Region's business community. Today's guest is Montana Wilson, a professional engineer, MBA, and founder and CEO of Grit Engineering. Montana built Grit to bring a people-first approach to civil, environmental, geotechnical, and survey engineering, focusing on mentorship, inclusion, and sustainability in every project. In this episode, we'll talk to her about her journey from engineer to founder, how she developed a people-first, values-driven culture, how Grit approaches complex projects with long-term impact, mentorship, and talent development, and the partnerships and community initiatives that matter most. Join me in the episode as we go behind the business with Montana Wilson of Grit Engineering. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Time is probably the most valuable commodity for anyone that's in business or leadership. We appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Good. Now, your career spans, it's pretty wide ranging, from technical engineering to executive leadership. What first drew you to engineering and infrastructure work? I mean, probably a non-traditional role, but did that start with your education or your early career? What kind of got you drew you to engineering and infrastructure work?
Sure. So I think when it goes all the way back to primary school. So I liked engineering and math, and applying to universities, it was what's a harder thing to do. So engineering seemed like a bigger challenge. So chose that one. But how I got into consulting engineering, my father was a site superintendent. He said, the really only good engineer I've ever worked with is Byron, England. And he's a resident of Waterloo, and applied there for my first co-op, and then the rest is history. So
what company was that?
It was Naylor Engineering.
Oh, Naylor.
At the time.
And did you go to U of W for your engineering?
I went to Queens. Yeah. And
you could have come here, but you went to Queens. Okay, that's all right. It's still a good school. It's a good school.
I grew up in Brantford, so I wanted to be a little bit further from home.
Yeah. I got that. I went to U of T. I had to get out of town too. Yeah. So, and talk about starting Grit Engineering. Like, I mean, because that's a whole nother thing. It's getting into the field, which, and I would still say it's changed a lot. There are more women in engineering, but it's still non-traditional. But starting a business is a whole nother thing, right? On top of the career that you're doing, and then getting and starting, because entrepreneurship isn't for anyone, man or woman. It's like it's a whole special thing of starting your own business, having that responsibility. There's good parts, but there's certainly some downsides. So talk about the starting of the company.
Sure. So I left consulting engineering for a while during COVID. Thought that's what I didn't want to do in my career. Went over to a more public-oriented company and realized that I really did love consulting engineering. I just didn't necessarily like the culture I was exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So it led to opening of Grit. And just in the name of Grit itself, so what we do is largely underground with soil, and I can expand on that further, but that's part of where Grit comes from. But it also comes from, I simply Googled female-owned engineering firms, and in all of North America could only find a handful. Yeah, and was very fortunate to reach out to a few of them and actually spoke to them about their experience. But so Grit really encompasses that, right? It takes, if I'm going to do this, it takes some grit to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we jumped right in with the support of my friends and family, and it is where it is today.
Was there a specific moment, like, you're working for someone else, you're in that industry? Was there a, working to engineer? Was that the calling? And then how did you get to, you talked a little bit about that, but was there a specific thing you said, geez, I can't do this anymore, I need to run my own shop? Like, sometimes you get to that point. Maybe start with that. Like, was there a specific moment, or did it just come over time of saying, I'm just not comfortable and I want to do my own thing?
Yeah, so I think when I switched over to more of the public sector, it was great. I worked for Bruce Nuclear for
Yep.
14 months. Great company, can't say enough good things about it. But it wasn't for me. I had more fun doing consulting engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and really I looked at it like, where would I want to go back to? And I was like, I don't really see any options where I want to go back to. So let's create something. And I was fortunate enough to have clients that followed me along the way and that were encouraging me to do that. So right off the ground, I had some really good people investing into the success of the company, right?
And in terms of how you approach your own business, like Grit Engineering, how did you decide on what, from your perspective, the people first, the values driven approach? Because I mean, I think everyone, to some degree, every business would say that's them.
Right.
Then I think there's the reality of, are they actually that?
Yeah.
You've made those core foundational, sort of the bedrock that your business is built on. How did you decide on that? And there, I'm sure when you're doing something like that, there will be a cost sometimes to doing that, even when it may be difficult, either financially or for other reasons. How did you decide on that?
So I think it's the whole reason I started Grit was to take care of people, whether
Yeah.
that's our clients, our employees, or the community itself, right? That's what Grit's embedded on. And how we do that is baby steps along the way. There's a million little things we do to accomplish that, such as paying for all of our employee benefit premiums. Like that's just one little piece, but it's working in the community. We are volunteering. We do STEM scholarships, but it really comes down to having a core staff too that share the same values. So when we hire, we look for people that are community leaders that do invest their time back as a really important function of hiring. And like I said, it's really, when I have to make a business decision, does it take care of people? That's the message in the back of my brain. We have to make money to survive, right?
Yeah, of
So
course.
there is that
Yeah.
portion of it, but not at the expense of the health and wellness of our clients and of our team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's peel back the layers of consulting engineering. For those of us that failed math in grade 9 and 10, you're way out of my comfort zone here, but Grit spans civil, environmental, geotechnical, and survey surfaces. So you got quite a broad cross section. For those of us that aren't, listeners that aren't in the technical world, how would you explain what Grit does and the kinds of problems you solve for either communities or clients? Well, I guess they're both one and the same. You could be doing public work or private sector. Explain what the types of things that you do and how your service kind of fits into either construction or planning or remediation, environmental. We must touch on all those things.
We really do. We have a small team, but a very diverse team. So explaining it to someone who's not in the business, I would explain it as we take care of everything underground. So surface level under,
water, soil,
foundations, linear infrastructure from sanitary water mains, subdivision design, approvals, stormwater management, phase 1, phase 2, environmental impact, remediation, surveying. We also have Grit Surveying Inc., which is legal surveying. So we offer that service as well to clients. So basically, everything under the ground, at or under, is how I describe it.
And that is. I mean, it's always been a field, but particularly with the focus on sustainability and environmental considerations, that you must not have any shortage of work on those sort of things. And in this region, with groundwater as being the source, like there's a lot of pieces that connect to this region in the work that you're doing.
For sure. We are in the residential and the housing, which is very important given our shortage of housing, right? That speaks to taking care of people, right? So we look at how we can do, we do a lot of infill developments, how we can get the density up in certain situations. We do industrial, commercial, which is still quite busy, despite some of the economic challenges we have. And then we do agriculture too. Being out in Stratford, there's a sector of that community we serve as well. So pretty diverse service offerings.
Okay, so tell. I mean, every business, whether it's the chamber or a business or anybody, rests on the talent that you're part of your team. Um, and talent's a huge issue across engineering. I've seen just recently, the last couple of days, a lot of consolidation with global firms, and I don't know which one it was. Was it WSP? Like lots of real consolidation with and you see that in a global context. um, how do you compete? In a lot of cases, it's that consolidation. So how do you recruit or even I guess attract and train and retain people, especially younger engineers and internationally trained professionals who can come over and practice here or work here? Um, when there's this move to going bigger versus the smaller, what's the value proposition for Grit, and how do you kind of attract the top quality staff that you need to be able to do this work for your clients?
Yeah, for sure. So for the first 4 years, we doubled our staff almost every year.
Mm.
So we were very successful in attracting and retaining talent. We have really great individuals. I think being a small firm has given us a leg up in some situations where some people don't want that large firm feel. They
Mm-hmm.
want to work directly with myself or with other licensed engineers instead of having 2 or 3 levels of management. Um, we work we don't have a remote work policy.
Mm-hmm.
So people are able to work at home, in the office, in whatever level of mix they feel is appropriate for their jobs. Now, there's some jobs like surveying and stuff you have to be out all the time. But we do offer that flexibility, which I think is important for people. We're also very family focused and family first. Like we have a kids cart, we call it, in the office, which just has a bunch of fun things. If for some reason your kids have to be in
Kids
the
sick,
office,
yeah.
whatever, my kids are in there occasionally, then there's something fun to do. Like mom and dad have to come pick up something. Then here's the kids cart, go draw something or do a bunch of stickers or whatever it is, right? So having that kind of openness and appeal is I think really important, that there's that psychological safety. I leave every day between 3 and 4 to get my kids to hockey or some sort of sporting event. Now, mind you, I do lots of work at other
Yeah.
times of the day, but there's that message that you have that flexibility. The work still has to get done, but we trust you to do it.
I as a single dad who had to do all those pickups and drop offs, I, that just became the culture here of saying it's not just for me; it's got to be for everyone. That family first has got to actually mean something, and there's a quality, especially with younger people entering the workforce, that's almost as important, in some cases more important than the salary. Like the money is not, it doesn't paper over some of those quality of life things. Um, you've spoken about mentoring young, and I wanted to just one more. When you talk about a small firm, like, because I mean, there's I always say this when I'm talking to politicians. They say, "Well, small business," and then they'll say, if you're 500 employees or less, and say that is not a small business.
Yeah.
The chambers, our membership of 16 or 1,500 members, 1,100 of them have 10 or 15 employees or less. Like that's the same everywhere. That's what business actually looks like. Where do you fit into that continuum?
Yeah, so we have 36 full time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
right
still
now.
that in our province, they would say that's a sophisticated operation, but in the grand scheme of that's still a small business in how you compete in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's right. And the goal is not to grow just to grow,
Yeah.
right? It's to grow organically like we have been, with really good people,
Yeah.
really good team members, really good clients. It's not to, be 500 people in 10 years. Like that's not where we're headed. It's to take care of people and to do that efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
with the right ones, right? So if that means we don't hit our growth target next year because we didn't find the right humans, then that's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, you've spoken about mentoring young engineers and internationally trained professionals, and increasingly, you're not going to find the talent unless you're looking outside of our borders. That's the reality of
Mhm.
how we're going to grow our businesses with newcomers to our country, and of course, whether it's medical professionals, engineering, skilled trades are going to come from somewhere else. How do you balance giving advice and that mentoring piece with letting people make their own mistakes or learning by doing? Because there is a balance there of letting people, you know, um, learn by doing, but also maintaining that mentoring or guiding principle. How do you balance that?
Yeah, so we try to encourage the team members to work together. We have 4 divisions, so cross train. Maybe that's somebody not in your division that can answer that question, or can the 2 or 3 junior staff sit there, bounce ideas off each other before we get the senior staff in there, and then can we all work together? So it's we really do encourage them to talk together and to build. It builds on part of that culture, right? To be safe to throw out an idea. You might think it's crazy and you might not want to throw it out in front of your boss, right? But to throw it out in front of a peer, and they're like, well, oh, yeah, maybe that can make sense, right? Try to have that psychological safety at work so that you can brainstorm. You do have that freedom. And then, of course, being engineers, we need to make sure it's right when we send it out the door. So having enough senior staff there in mentorship programs, and I'm proud to say each of our engineering disciplines has multiple licensed professionals. We also will reach out to the community as well. We're part of the Association of Consulting Engineers. So if there's something that we find is specialized with another small firm, we'll bring them in. So not being intimidated or concerned about reaching out when we need specialized support.
The Behind the Business podcast is made possible through the support of our title sponsor, Gore Mutual. Proudly Canadian, Gore Mutual has stayed true to one purpose for more than 185 years: insurance that does good. It's the reason they exist. They believe that when we focus on being good, doing good, and spreading good, we all thrive together. We're grateful for their continued commitment to our local communities and the positive impact they make every day. For more information, visit goremutual.ca. Now, we talked a little bit about, some of the professionals that are coming from outside of the country. Diversity, equity, inclusion in the broadest sense here at the Chamber has been something that we've focused on. Certainly it's in our strategic plan. It's some of the things we're saying we've got to reflect the business community and in the community that we live in. And that is a very broad, diverse group. Does Grit have sort of like some goals in that direction? Like what's the culture in terms of what does diversity look like for Grit, and how do you kind of manifest that? Because by definition, if you're looking for foreign trained professionals, dollars to donuts, they don't look like us. Like you're going to find people from other parts of the world. So, but just that alone says, how do we make sure that they're welcomed and belonging? And that's the work that I do with the Immigration Partnership, of saying, get people here. How do we make them most productive? How do they feel engaged in not only their job but in the community, and they're feeling safe? How do you manage that? Because if you're bringing in people from outside, you must have a plan around those things.
Yeah, and we do have several foreign trained engineers, and it is challenging for them, right? Not only to blend into the culture, but to get licensed here is very challenging. So we try to support them as much as we can. Because we value so much in giving back to the community, we encourage them to participate in a lot of the events we do, right? To build that sense of community, whether it's being on the Santa Claus parade float or doing a trivia night for the United Way, right? Trying to encourage everybody to attend, even if it's a little bit out of your comfort zone, right? We did work a lot with Conestoga Career Employment Center to bring us foreign trained engineers. So having them vet the process ahead of time is helpful for small business, right? We don't have enough time to interview as many people as we want to interview. But to also speak to the DEI portion, we do have a soft goal to have parity within the office. So we have achieved that, whether that's in technical professionals or not. There's some admin staff that help balance that out, but we do have a strong contingent of female licensed engineers and engineers in training. I think that building that safe workplace, whether you're male or female, especially for people with young families, is really important, right? Like, there can't be that bias that only mom goes and picks them up when they're sick at work, right? We also need to be supportive that our male colleagues can also do that and not be judged. So I think
there's single dads out there that are doing all those same things. I mean, the number of days I've pulled lice out of hairs because the girls were home or
Yeah.
sick at home.
Yeah. Life happens, right?
and families are families, and they're all going to look different. So
That's right.
that's an important piece. You've been vocal about building an inclusive workplace, and you mentioned a little bit about that, and what is obvious. Well, I guess obviously it's traditionally a male-dominated industry. It just has been.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
changing, but it's slow.
Still very heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very heavy that way. What specific barriers did you face when you were getting in? And I guess that's back to the first start of the interview, but did you face barriers that kind of limited it, which then propelled you to, I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to do it in a certain way? So did you face some of those, and what were the supports that helped you, or that maybe weren't there, that said, I'm going to change this?
That's right. So I think it goes back to it's the construction sites are always challenging for women, still are, like, to be blunt about it. There's things that we could do better as a society in supporting women on construction sites. But as far as my career goes, I had a father who was a site superintendent, so on a construction site, and my mother was in retail sales. So they both gifted me different things, right? My father in the technical knowledge, my mother in how to deal with people, right? And the customer service part. Yes, we're in engineering, but we're very much a customer service based business. If you can't get your thoughts across, then you can be the smartest person in the world, but it's not going to work. So they influenced my career from the beginning, for sure. But then I also had really good bosses all the way along, right? They were always,
makes a difference, doesn't it?
Always male.
Yeah.
So they were great, but I never had a female boss, and still haven't in my career. So I'm able to offer that to some people now.
Well,
right?
That's good.
So we're changing the landscape and what leadership looks like, and hope to keep doing that moving forward.
Good for you. Professional associations and community partnerships have been a part of your journey. So whether it's local schools, industry groups, Ontario SPE, so that must be professional engineer. Ontario, what is Society Professional? It used to be OP anyway. Ben, what's the most surprising or fruitful partnership for Grit? Like like we always hope that everyone says, "Oh, being a part of the Chamber of Commerce is our best association." But what have you found in your business? Because it's more technical and based, and sort of the networking and referral is it's got to be it's a more narrow slice and how you do that. What are the partnerships that really have helped Grit in its growth?
For sure. So I think different associations offer different things, right? The Chamber of Commerce, great. Networking, and as we all know, networking is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. The Association of Consulting Engineers of Canada, I'm on their Ontario board, and I've been on their national board. That provides me with a huge network of small business owners and technical representatives that we can lean on as engineers. OSPE, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, another great organization to team up engineers in different technical professions. So we do a lot of work in residential development. So the Home Builders has been an important association for us. Perth Huron Home Builders, as well as the Ontario Home Builders Association too, as far as networking and building that residential side up.
And I guess last thing specific to Grit, and then we'll move on to a bit of the leadership part of what this podcast is, because it's great to hear the story. But as much as anything, it's also about the leadership style, and everyone's approach to my rapid fire questions is kind of unique. But last question before we move to that: what's next for Grit? So because I've heard you've been very clear saying you're not growing for growth's sake. You don't have a number in line of saying we want to be 50 employees by such and such. But are there projects that you would, or types of projects you want to get into? Is it, are there some specific goals that you'd like to see over a period of time that helps you change the landscape of what either Grit is or its place in the industry itself?
Yeah, I'm personally really excited to see our team grow and what that looks like. So it's in all of our natures to take Grit and build it to be what we want it to be. So to invest in my younger staff is really exciting. It's been really exciting to see in the last 5 years, but to see how they can take on more responsibility, how they can grow their individual teams is really what's going to fill my bucket. But we are looking at different areas. Residential development, as you know, slowed down a little bit. So different areas to diversify our service offerings. But we have, to be honest, we're pretty diverse as it is now. And we have, a good land coverage of basically all of Ontario. So there's lots of work as a small team that in regions we haven't even been to yet. So there's room there for sure.
And I think, just on that is things are slow right now for a lot of reasons, tariffs and supply chains, and there's an investment freeze on everything from building homes, but also, in the ICI part, but that will not stay for forever. Business has a way, and we're already seeing that of trying to figure out what moronic politicians can try and derail things, but it all comes out in the wash eventually. So there's going to be there, and when the log jam breaks, companies like Grit and others are going to have to spring into action. Having that group, because the housing crisis hasn't gone away. We're just not building houses right now.
Yeah.
We're growing as a country, and we need to have jobs for those people. That hasn't gone away either. It's just kind of
and we need to invest in the younger generation, right?
Absolutely.
We need to put the time in now so that they're able to take over for us, right?
Absolutely.
We're seeing that failed system right now in the baby boomer generation leaving, but not necessarily knowledge transferring as much as we can. So those of us that are intermediate engineers, which we're like unicorns, there's not a lot of us, need to be able to facilitate our knowledge to the next generation. And now's a really great time to do that.
Okay, we're on to the rapid fire question. Again, this is more on the leadership than the specifics of your business, but I always find it interesting because everyone's got a different kind of things that motivate them or how they respond. There's no right or wrong answers, but if you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would that be?
Be more confident. I think I was not as confident as I should have been earlier on.
It's good advice, and I think it's for everybody. Fake it till you make it is actually, sometimes it sounds a little trite, but it's true. You can't start a job and think, oh, I get this all wired, because you're not keeping your eyes wide open. But that is a good.
I tell my kids sometimes too, nobody cares, and I don't mean that from a negative perspective, but nobody really cares what shirt you're wearing. If you love it, own it and wear it, right? Yeah. Like those little things to have more confidence earlier. And
I think that's great advice, especially for kids now. They're so focused on what other people say is you got to be comfortable in your skin. Who or what inspires you as you go through the journey of life?
Oh, my team, for sure. To see them grow, definitely. It's inspiring. And then the family too, of course, right? Like,
How many kids do you have?
I have 2, and even, my husband and I had the talk when I started Grit, was like, can we survive, right? If this makes no money and fails, can we survive? And he's always supported me through it, as well as my parents and my extended family. So,
well, there's risk inherent to it, but there's also the independence and the notion that it is. I mean, again, you moving your own goalposts of saying we're not growing for growth's sake if it doesn't fit who we want to be.
Right.
That there's a value to that in terms of the hours you have to put into work, is that you're doing it on your own terms. I like that. If you weren't in your current career, what do you think you'd be doing? So if you weren't in engineering, what would you be doing?
I don't know, honestly. I've really liked math and science my whole entire life, so I think it would be in something that related. Yeah. So I think I've found where I need to be. At least it feels like it right now. Yeah,
that's good. Are you reading a book to kind of either let go or learn something? Or you listen to a podcast? You think you just said, which one was it?
I tend to listen to Peter Man's
and
The Bridge. He lives in Stratford. So, there's a local feel to that international kind of type discussion. I have Sirius XM, so I also listen to Arlene Bynon on there and Canada Talks as well. So
Cool.
I'm not a big personal book reader. I think I read enough for work that it's kind of
Everyone says
ruined that for me a little bit.
a friend of mine says, "Oh, I've got 4 books on the go," and I say, "I read 4 books in a year, and they're all on my 2-week vacation when I'm on a beach somewhere."
Yeah.
But podcasts are kind of interesting too. Listen, do you have a favorite business in either Waterloo Region or in Perth, or where's your go-to?
Favorite business? Oh, goodness.
Like coffee shop, restaurants, retail.
Yeah. So, we're headquartered in Stratford. So downtown Stratford, we have a lot of mom and pop shops.
Yeah, beautiful spot.
Mercer Hall to Revel for coffee. We've got a lot of good independent store owners there. But you do here as well in Kitchener Waterloo, and it's so much fun to visit them, whether we're going on the ice rink downtown or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
there's lots happening here in the uptown and downtown Kitchener. Uptown Waterloo and downtown Kitchener is great.
Yeah.
Okay, just as we wrap up, if someone wants to learn more about Grit, be in touch. Maybe they have a project they're thinking about and want to learn more about you, your approach, and the team that you have. Where do they go and connect and find out about Grit?
Yeah, so we're gritengineering.ca. MontanaGritEngineering.ca is my email, and the office phone are 519-305-5727. And we also have an Instagram page, which is really fun to see.
You know what? I love that you said the phone number. I said this to someone yesterday. You can never get a human being anymore, so it's good that you've.
We have admin staff in the office full time, so someone will pick up the call.
That's almost like that's a unicorn. Having that. Listen, thank you so much for business owners and particularly entrepreneurs. Time is probably the most valuable commodity that you're short of, so we really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Business, proudly presented by Gore Mutual, insurance that does good. New episodes drop every Thursday, so be sure to tune in next week. You can also visit greaterkwchamber.com to catch up on past episodes anytime. We'll see you next time as we continue to go Behind the Business.